Tonight I want to take you somewhere extraordinary, somewhere that exists all around us yet remains invisible to our eyes, into the journey of light itself, into the secret life of photons as they dance through the cosmos. You know, there's something deeply comforting about settling in for the evening, wherever you might be right now. Perhaps you're tucked under warm blankets. Maybe you're listening with headphones in a quiet room, or you could be somewhere I haven't even imagined. I'm curious, where in the world are you joining me from tonight? What time is it where you are? Is it late evening, past midnight, or perhaps you're using this as an afternoon rest? Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you've chosen to spend this time exploring one of the universe's most beautiful mysteries with me. And if you find yourself drifting peacefully through these cosmic contemplations, perhaps you'd like to join me for more of these gentle journeys through space and time. A simple like or subscribe helps other curious souls find these quiet moments of wonder too. But for now, let's begin with a question that might sound strange at first, something you could easily dismiss as just another physics puzzle. But the more we look at it, the more quietly intriguing it becomes. What if I told you that from a photon's perspective, from the viewpoint of light itself, the entire universe happens all at once? What if every ray of starlight, every glimmer of sunshine, every soft glow from your bedside lamp experiences its entire journey, whether across your room or across billions of light years, in exactly zero time? It's a question that seems to defy everything we know about travel, about journeys, about the passage of time itself. And yet, when we peer into the mathematics of Einstein's relativity, when we follow the implications of what we've measured and observed about light, we find something that whispers about the true nature of reality. What if photons, these fundamental particles of light, are not just messengers carrying energy across space, but quiet doorways into understanding how the universe really works at its deepest level? Tonight, we're going to explore this profound mystery together, you and I, gently unwrapping layers of understanding about what it means for something to travel at the speed of light, what happens to time itself at that ultimate cosmic speed limit, and what this might tell us about the very fabric of existence. We'll wander through the implications of Einstein's revelations, drift through the paradoxes that emerge when we truly think about light's perspective, and perhaps discover that the universe is far stranger and more beautiful than our everyday experience suggests. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let your mind open to possibilities that stretch beyond the ordinary, beyond the familiar tick of clocks and the steady flow of moments. Because tonight, we're going to see the universe through the eyes of light itself, where past, present, and future collapse into a single eternal instant. Consider for a moment the light from the nearest star to our sun, Proxima Centauri, arriving at your eyes right now if you were to look up at the night sky. That light has travelled for just over 4 years to reach you, crossing 25 trillion miles of empty space, dodging cosmic dust, bending slightly around massive objects, maintaining its speed with absolute perfection. From your perspective, standing here on Earth, that photon has been journeying through the cosmos since before the last Olympics, since before the pandemic, carrying information about what that star looked like all those years ago. But here's where things become wonderfully strange. From the photon's point of view, if we can even speak of such a thing, no time has passed at all. Not 4 years, not 4 minutes, not even 4 nanoseconds. The photon left Proxima Centauri and arrived at Earth in the same instant, experiencing its entire journey as a single timeless moment. This isn't science fiction or mystical thinking. This is what the equations of special relativity tell us must be true. When Einstein first worked out his theory in 1905, sitting in that patent office in Bern, Switzerland, he discovered something that even he found difficult to accept at first. As objects move faster through space, time slows down for them relative to stationary observers. This isn't just theory anymore. We've measured it happening with atomic clocks on fast-moving planes, with particles in accelerators, with satellites orbiting Earth. Your GPS wouldn't work correctly if we didn't account for this time dilation. But what happens when something moves at the ultimate speed, the speed of light itself? The mathematics gives us an answer that seems impossible yet inevitable. Time stops completely. Let me paint you a picture of what this means, and it's a picture that requires us to let go of our ordinary intuitions about how things work. Imagine you could somehow ride along with a photon, though of course this is impossible since nothing with mass can ever reach light speed. But in this thought experiment, in this gentle exploration of possibilities, Imagine you're traveling alongside that particle of light as it leaves the surface of the sun. From Earth's perspective, that journey takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds. The photon crosses 93 million miles of space, passing the orbit of Mercury, then Venus, before finally reaching our blue world. But from your imaginary position riding with the photon, something extraordinary happens. The sun and Earth exist at the same point. The distance between them contracts to nothing. The journey that takes 8 minutes from our perspective happens instantaneously from yours. You leave and arrive in the same moment, experiencing no passage of time whatsoever. This is where our exploration becomes deeply philosophical, almost dreamlike in its implications. If photons experience no time, then every photon that has ever existed or will ever exist experiences its entire journey as a single instant. That sunlight warming your face right now, from the photon's perspective, it's still on the surface of the sun even as it touches your skin. The light from distant galaxies that has traveled for billions of years to reach our telescopes. For those photons, they've just left those ancient stars in the same instant they arrive here. The entire history of the universe, from the first light that emerged from the cosmic dark age to the last photon that will ever be emitted before the heat death of everything, all of it exists in a kind of eternal present from light's point of view. We often think of light as the fastest thing in the universe, racing across cosmic distances while we sit still. But perhaps we have it backwards. Perhaps from light's perspective, it's not moving at all. Instead, the universe is rushing past it at the speed of light. Space contracts to nothing in the direction of travel, time freezes completely, and what we call a journey becomes something else entirely, a state of being rather than a process of becoming. This isn't just wordplay or philosophical musing. It emerges directly from the mathematics that governs our universe, the same mathematics that predicts with stunning accuracy how particles behave in accelerators, how gravity bends space-time, how the cosmos expands and evolves. Think about the implications of this for a moment, letting them wash over you like gentle waves. Every star you see in the night sky is sending you photons that, from their perspective, are still at that star even as they reach your eyes. You're not seeing the past. You're participating in a kind of cosmic present that transcends our normal understanding of time. When astronomers look at the Andromeda galaxy, 2.5 million light-years away, they often say they're seeing it as it was 2.5 million years ago. And from our earthbound perspective, that's true. But from the perspective of the photons carrying that image, they're showing us Andromeda as it exists right now in their timeless frame of reference. The universe begins to look very different when we consider it from light's point of view. Instead of vast distances that take eons to cross, we have a kind of infinite connectivity where every point touches every other point through the medium of light. Instead of past, present, and future, stretching out in a long line, we have all of time collapsed into a single eternal moment for anything traveling at light speed. The photons that emerged from the Big Bang, that first burst of light when the universe became transparent about 380,000 years after the beginning, from their perspective, they're still in that primordial moment, even as some of them reach our detectors as the cosmic microwave background radiation. Scientists have known about this peculiar feature of light for over a century, yet we rarely stop to contemplate what it really means. We've become so accustomed to thinking about the universe from our perspective, where time flows steadily forward and distances have meaning, that we forget there are other ways of experiencing reality. The equations don't lie. They tell us that at light speed the universe looks fundamentally different. Not just a little different, not just strange, but completely transformed into something our minds struggle to grasp. And perhaps that's why this idea feels both disturbing and beautiful, both impossible and inevitable. When physicists first worked out these implications, many of them felt uncomfortable with the results. How can something travel through space without experiencing time? How can a journey have a beginning and an end but no duration? These questions challenge our most basic assumptions about reality, yet experiment after experiment has confirmed that this is indeed how our universe works. Time dilation is real, length contraction is real, and at the speed of light these effects become infinite, creating a state of existence that seems more like pure being than anything we would recognize as movement or travel. Perhaps this is why light has always felt special to humans, why we've always sensed something transcendent about it. Long before Einstein, long before we understood photons and electromagnetic waves, cultures around the world associated light with the divine, with consciousness, with the eternal. Maybe on some intuitive level, we've always known that light exists in a realm beyond ordinary time, beyond the steady tick of clocks and the slow decay of material things. The ancient Greeks spoke of light as the messenger of the gods. The mystics of various traditions described enlightenment as becoming one with the light. And now our physics equations tell us that light does indeed exist in a kind of eternal present, touching all points simultaneously from its own frame of reference. But let's bring this back to the scientific, to what we can measure and observe. When particle physicists accelerate electrons or protons to speeds approaching that of light, they see time dilation effects exactly as Einstein predicted. A particle traveling at 99.9%, the speed of light experiences time passing about 22 times slower than we do. Push that to 99.99% and time slows by a factor of 70. At 99.999%, time passes 224 times slower. The closer to light speed, the more extreme the effect becomes, approaching infinity as we approach that ultimate cosmic speed limit. We've measured this happening. We've watched unstable particles live far longer than they should, because they're moving so fast that time barely touches them. This brings us to a profound realization about the nature of space and time themselves. We tend to think of space as the stage where events happen, and time as the steady progression of those events. But relativity shows us that space and time are not separate things. They're aspects of a four-dimensional space-time fabric that can be stretched, compressed, and warped. Motion through space affects passage through time. Gravity, which is really the curvature of space-time, can slow time just as surely as velocity can, and at light speed this interconnection reaches its ultimate expression. Infinite motion through space corresponds to zero motion through time. Consider what this means for the photons streaming from your lamp right now, gently illuminating whatever space you're in. Each photon springs into existence as an electron in the lamp's filament drops to a lower energy level. In that instant of creation, from the photon's perspective, it simultaneously exists at the filament, travels across your room, and is absorbed by whatever surface it strikes. Its entire existence, birth, journey, and death, happens in a single timeless instant. Yet from your perspective, you can watch the light travel, see shadows form and move, observe the finite speed of illumination. Both perspectives are equally valid. The universe doesn't prefer one over the other. It simply is, existing in a way that accommodates both your time-bound experience and light's timeless one. This duality extends throughout the cosmos. Right now, photons from the sun are striking Earth's atmosphere, creating the blue sky, warming the oceans, driving photosynthesis in plants. From our perspective, these photons are 8 minutes old, carrying information about the sun as it was when they left. But from the photons' perspective, they're touching both sun and Earth simultaneously, creating an instantaneous connection across 93 million miles of space. The sun isn't just sending light to Earth. In the photons' frame of reference, the sun and Earth exist at the same point, united in a timeless moment of energy transfer. We can extend this thinking to the entire observable universe. Every star we see, every galaxy we detect, every quasar blazing in the cosmic distance. They're all connected to us through photons that experience no time, no distance, no separation. From light's perspective, the universe isn't the vast, mostly empty expanse we perceive. It's a single point where all events happen simultaneously, where the Big Bang and the present moment coexist, where the most distant galaxy and your eye occupy the same location. This isn't mysticism, it's the logical consequence of taking relativity seriously, of following the mathematics wherever it leads. Yet we must be careful here, gentle in our interpretation. When we say a photon experiences something, we're using language that may not quite fit. Photons have no mass, no internal clock, no mechanism for recording or processing information in the way we understand those terms. Perhaps it's more accurate to say that from the reference frame of anything moving at light speed, the universe would appear this way. It's a perspective that exists in the mathematics, in the structure of space-time itself, even if there's no conscious observer there to witness it. The universe has this timeless perspective built into its very fabric, whether or not anything actually experiences it. This raises fascinating questions about the nature of information and causality. If photons experience their entire journey instantaneously, how does cause and effect work from their perspective? When a photon leaves a star and is later absorbed by your retina, creating the sensation of sight, from the photon's view, these events are simultaneous. Yet clearly, from our perspective, the emission causes the absorption, not the other way around. The resolution lies in understanding that causality itself is preserved across all reference frames, even as the timing of events shifts dramatically. The order of causally connected events remains consistent. What changes is the duration between them, which shrinks to zero at light speed. Scientists have spent decades exploring these implications, and they've discovered something remarkable. The universe seems carefully constructed to preserve certain fundamental principles across all reference frames. The speed of light is the same for all observers, regardless of their motion. Causality is maintained even as time dilates and contracts. The laws of physics work the same way whether you're standing still, flying in an airplane, or hypothetically traveling near light speed. This consistency, this elegant mathematical structure underlying reality, suggests something profound about the nature of existence itself. Some physicists have wondered whether this timeless perspective of light might offer clues about the deepest nature of reality. Could it be that the timeless realm is more fundamental than our time-bound one? Perhaps what we experience as the flow of time is a kind of illusion created by our particular perspective, our inability to travel at light speed. Maybe the universe is more like a four-dimensional sculpture, existing eternally, and we conscious beings are simply tracing paths through it, experiencing it slice by slice in what we call the present moment. From this view, photons aren't really traveling through space and time. They're revealing the eternal structure of space-time itself, showing us glimpses of how the universe looks from outside the normal flow of temporal experience. But even as we explore these profound possibilities, we should remember to stay grounded in what we actually observe and measure. The predictions of relativity have been tested thousands of times in thousands of ways, and they've never failed. GPS satellites must account for time dilation, or they would drift off course by miles each day. Particle accelerators must factor in relativistic effects, or they wouldn't work at all. The observed behavior of distant galaxies, the bending of light around massive objects, the detection of gravitational waves, all of these confirm that our understanding of light and time, strange as it may seem, is fundamentally correct. Let's pause here for a moment and truly absorb what we've discovered. Every photon in the universe, from the ones streaming from distant quasars to the ones bouncing off this text into your eyes right now, exists in a state beyond time. The light that has traveled billions of years to reach us from the edge of the observable universe experienced that entire journey in zero time. The cosmic microwave background radiation, that faint echo of the Big Bang that fills all of space, consists of photons that, from their own perspective, are still in that primordial moment of release nearly 14 billion years ago. We are surrounded by, immersed in, continuously touched by entities that exist outside of time as we know it. This realization transforms how we might think about the universe and our place in it. We often feel isolated on our small planet, separated from the cosmos by unimaginable distances that would take lifetimes to cross even at impossible speeds. But through light, we are instantaneously connected to everything we can see. Every star in the night sky is touching us right now through photons that experience no separation between there and here. The sun doesn't just shine on us from afar. In the reference frame of its light, the sun and earth exist at the same point, united in a continuous exchange of energy that sustains all life on our world. Think about what happens when you look at someone you love. Photons bounce off their face and travel to your eyes, carrying information about their expression, their emotions, the subtle play of light and shadow that makes them who they are. From your perspective, this takes a tiny fraction of a second, the time for light to cross the few feet between you. But from the photon's perspective, they simultaneously touch both the beloved face and your watching eyes. In the realm of light, there is no distance between you and what you see. The connection is instantaneous, absolute, unmediated by time or space. Perhaps this is why looking into someone's eyes can feel so profound. We're participating in a kind of timeless connection that transcends the ordinary boundaries of separated existence. The implications extend to every aspect of our visual experience. When you watch a sunset, you're not just observing something happening at a distance. From the perspective of the light itself, the sun, the atmosphere, and your eyes all exist at the same point. The golden rays don't travel to you. In their frame of reference, they simultaneously exist at their source and destination. The entire sunset, from the sun's surface to your retina, happens in a single timeless instant that you experience as extended through time only because of your particular frame of reference, your inability to move at light speed. This might seem like just an interesting quirk of physics, a mathematical curiosity with no practical importance. But consider how fundamentally this shapes our universe. The fact that light experiences no time means that electromagnetic forces, which are mediated by photons, can act instantaneously across their light cones. It means that the universe can be causally connected despite its vast size. It means that information about distant events can eventually reach us, allowing us to study and understand the cosmos. Without this timeless nature of light, the universe might be truly disconnected, with each region isolated in its own bubble of causality, unable to influence or even know about any other region. The timeless perspective of light also offers a different way to think about some of the deepest puzzles in physics. Take quantum entanglement, for instance, that spooky action at a distance that so troubled Einstein. When two particles are entangled, measuring one instantly affects the other, regardless of the distance between them. From our time-bound perspective, this seems to violate the speed limit of light, suggesting faster-than-light influence. But what if we consider that the photons mediating the electromagnetic interactions that create and maintain entanglement experience no time? From their perspective, both particles exist at the same point. The correlation isn't traveling faster than light. It's existing in a timeless realm where distance has no meaning. We're now deep into the mystery, floating in conceptual spaces that challenge our everyday understanding of reality. Yet everything we are exploring follows logically from well-established physics, from equations that have been tested and verified countless times. We're not speculating wildly, we're simply taking seriously what our best theories tell us about the nature of light and time, and what they tell us is beautiful, strange, and profound. That woven into the very fabric of our universe is a timeless perspective, a view from light speed where all of space collapses to a point, and all of time happens at once. Consider the photons from the cosmic microwave background, that faint radiation that fills all of space, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. These photons have been traveling for nearly 14 billion years from our perspective, cooling and stretching as the universe expanded around them. They've crossed billions of light years of space, passing through the era of the first stars, the formation of galaxies, the birth of our solar system. When we detect them with our radio telescopes, we say we're looking back to when the universe was only 380,000 years old, seeing the cosmos as it was when it first became transparent to light. But from the photons' perspective, they haven't travelled at all. They haven't aged. They exist simultaneously at their point of origin in the primordial universe, and here in our detectors, creating an instantaneous bridge across nearly all of cosmic history. This perspective radically alters how we might think about cosmology and the history of the universe. From our viewpoint embedded in the flow of time, the universe has a clear history. Big Bang, inflation, formation of first atoms, cosmic dark age, first stars, galaxy formation, and so on, stretching across billions of years. But from light's perspective, all of this happens in a single eternal moment. The Big Bang and the present coexist. The first stars in today's galaxies exist simultaneously. The entire history of the universe is not a sequence, but a single, timeless whole that we conscious beings experience sequentially only because of our particular limitation of moving slower than light. Some theoretical physicists have wondered whether this timeless perspective might be more fundamental than our temporal one. Perhaps the universe is fundamentally atemporal, a four-dimensional block of space-time that simply exists, and time as we experience it is emergent, arising from our particular way of moving through this block. From this view, photons aren't really moving through space and time. They're revealing the eternal structure of the block universe, showing us that past, present, and future are all equally real, all existing simultaneously in the grand structure of space-time. This brings us to one of the deepest questions in physics and philosophy. What is time? Is it fundamental to reality or emergent from something deeper? Does it flow as we experience it? Or is that flow an illusion created by consciousness moving through a static four-dimensional space-time? The timeless perspective of light doesn't answer these questions definitively, but it does show us that our everyday experience of time is not the only valid perspective. There exists, built into the very structure of our universe, a way of being where time does not pass, where all moments exist simultaneously, where the concept of duration has no meaning. We can see hints of this timeless realm in other areas of physics too. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition states until measured, seemingly experiencing all possible paths simultaneously until forced to choose one by observation. The path integral formulation of quantum mechanics, developed by Richard Feynman, describes particles as taking all possible paths through space-time simultaneously, with the observed path emerging from the interference of all these possibilities. Could it be that quantum mechanics is showing us glimpses of the same timeless realm that photons inhabit fully? Even in our everyday experience, we can find echoes of this deeper reality. When you remember a vivid moment from your past, for an instant that memory feels present, immediate, alive. When you imagine a future possibility with sufficient clarity, it can feel real, as if it's happening now. Musicians speak of moments when time seems to stop, when they're so absorbed in the flow of music that past, present, and future notes exist simultaneously in a kind of eternal now. Athletes describe similar experiences in the zone, when everything slows down and they can see the entire play unfold at once. Perhaps in these moments, we're catching glimpses of how the universe looks from outside our normal time-bound perspective. But let's return to the photons themselves, these remarkable entities that exist at the boundary between being and becoming. A photon is born when an electron drops from a higher energy level to a lower one, or when a particle and antiparticle annihilate, or through various other processes that convert other forms of energy into electromagnetic radiation. At the moment of its creation, the photon already knows, in a sense, where it will be absorbed. From its timeless perspective, creation and destruction are the same event. It doesn't travel toward its destination. It exists as a connection between source and destination, a bridge across space that experiences no duration. This raises profound questions about determinism and free will. If photons experience their entire journey from creation to absorption as a single moment, does that mean the future is already determined? When a photon leaves a distant star, does it already know whether it will be absorbed by your retina, creating a moment of perception, or whether it will continue past Earth into the cosmic void? The answer isn't simple. Quantum mechanics tells us that the specific fate of any individual photon is fundamentally uncertain until it happens. Yet from the photon's perspective, once it is absorbed, its entire history from creation to absorption exists as a single, complete whole. We're touching here on some of the deepest mysteries in physics, the relationship between quantum uncertainty and relativity, the nature of measurement and observation, the question of whether reality is deterministic or probabilistic. The timeless perspective of light doesn't resolve these mysteries, but it does add another layer of complexity and beauty to them. It shows us that questions about causality, determinism, and the nature of time itself look very different depending on your frame of reference, and that the universe accommodates all these different perspectives simultaneously. As we continue our gentle exploration, consider the light from your screen or the lamp beside you. These photons are created by electrons jumping between energy levels in atoms, a quantum process that happens billions of times per second. Each photon springs into existence and immediately, from its perspective, reaches its destination, whether that's your eye, the wall, or somewhere else entirely. The room around you is filled with these timeless trajectories, countless photons existing in their eternal present, while you experience them as a continuous flow of illumination through time. You're literally surrounded by eternity, immersed in a field of timeless connections between every light source and every surface they illuminate. The sun is pouring out photons at an incredible rate, about 10 or 45 photons per second. Each one experiences its entire journey instantaneously, whether it travels to Earth, Jupiter, or out of the solar system entirely. From the sun's perspective in normal time, it's been shining for billions of years and will continue for billions more. But from the perspective of its light, every photon that has ever left or will ever leave the sun exists in the same timeless moment. The sun's entire history of illumination, from its birth to its eventual death, collapses into a single eternal instant from light's point of view. This extends to every star in the universe. Right now, our telescopes are detecting photons from billions of different stars and galaxies, each one carrying information about its source. From our perspective, we're seeing these objects as they were when the light left them, some recent, some billions of years ago. We're looking back through time, seeing the universe at different epochs simultaneously. But from the photons' perspective, all these stars, all these galaxies, all these different epochs exist right now, connected to our telescopes through timeless bridges of light. The entire observable universe, with its billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, exists as a single, unified, timeless whole from the perspective of the light that connects it all. Let's drift deeper into this cosmic perspective. The universe is expanding, space itself stretching between galaxies, carrying them apart faster and faster. From our time-bound view, this is a process that has been happening for nearly 14 billion years and will continue far into the future. But what does cosmic expansion look like from light's perspective? A photon traveling from a distant galaxy to Earth doesn't experience the billions of years that pass from our viewpoint. It doesn't experience space expanding around it. From its frame of reference, it simply exists as a connection between that distant galaxy and Earth, regardless of how much space expands during what we call its journey. This has profound implications for how we understand cosmology. The light from the most distant galaxies we can see has been traveling for over 13 billion years from our perspective, crossing an expanding universe, red-shifting as space stretches. But from the light's perspective, those ancient galaxies and our modern telescopes exist at the same point. The early universe and today are not separated by billions of years. They coexist in the eternal present of the photons that connect them. When cosmologists study the early universe through this ancient light, they're not really looking into the past. They're examining a part of the universe that still exists now from light's timeless perspective. We've been exploring these ideas for a while now, letting them wash over us like gentle waves, each one carrying us a little deeper into the mystery. And perhaps you're beginning to feel the profound shift in perspective this requires. We're so accustomed to thinking of the universe as a vast space where things happen over time that it takes effort to imagine it as light might experience it, as a single point where everything happens at once. Yet both perspectives are equally valid. The universe doesn't prefer one over the other. It simply exists in a way that accommodates both, that allows for both our time-bound journey and light's timeless existence. This duality is built into the mathematical structure of space-time itself. The equations of relativity don't just allow for the timeless perspective of light, they require it. The same mathematical framework that explains why your GPS works, why the sun's gravity bends light, why galaxies form and evolve, also tells us that at light speed, time stops and space contracts to nothing. These aren't separate phenomena, they're all aspects of the same underlying reality, different faces of the same geometric structure that we call space-time. As you rest here, perhaps feeling drowsy as these ideas flow through your mind, consider that you are made of atoms that were forged in the cores of stars, atoms that have been on incredible journeys through space and time. The carbon in your body, the oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood, all of these were created in stellar furnaces and expelled in supernova explosions, traveling through space for millions or billions of years before becoming part of Earth and eventually part of you. And throughout these journeys, these atoms have been continuously bathed in light, in photons that from their own perspective connected them instantaneously to their sources across the vast distances of space. You are, in a very real sense, a collection of star stuff that has been touched by timeless light throughout its entire history. Every atom in your body has absorbed and emitted countless photons, participating in the timeless realm even as it moved through time. You're both temporal and connected to the eternal, both bound by time and touched by the timeless. This isn't poetry or metaphor, it's the literal truth of how matter and light interact in our universe. You exist at the intersection of time and timelessness, matter and light, the temporal flow and the eternal present. The molecules in your brain, as they process these ideas, are exchanging photons continuously. Every chemical reaction, Every neural firing involves electrons jumping between energy levels, emitting and absorbing photons. Consciousness itself, whatever else it might be, is intimately connected to these electromagnetic processes, to the continuous dance between matter and light. As you think about timelessness, your thoughts are mediated by timeless photons. As you experience the flow of time, that experience is created through the exchange of entities that exist outside of time. We are temporal beings made possible by timeless processes, conscious of duration through mechanisms that transcend duration. This interplay between the temporal and the timeless extends throughout nature. Photosynthesis, that fundamental process that captures sunlight and converts it into the chemical energy that powers most life on Earth, depends on the quantum behavior of photons. When a photon strikes a chlorophyll molecule in a plant leaf, it doesn't just transfer energy. It exists simultaneously at the sun and in the leaf from its own perspective, creating an instantaneous connection between stellar fusion and biological chemistry. Every plant, every blade of grass, every tree is continuously participating in this timeless connection with our star. Vision, our primary sense for perceiving the world, is entirely dependent on this timeless nature of light. When you see something, photons are creating instantaneous connections from their perspective between objects and your eyes. The three-dimensional world you perceive, with its depths and distances, is constructed from information carried by entities that experience no distance, no separation, no time. Your visual cortex takes these timeless signals and weaves them into the temporal spatial experience you call sight. Every moment of visual perception is a translation between the timeless and the temporal, between light's unified perspective and our sequential one. Even as we sleep, we remain immersed in this sea of timeless connections. Infrared photons radiate from our warm bodies, carrying energy into the night. Radio waves pass through us continuously, carrying signals from distant stars, from human communications, from the cosmic background itself. We are never separate from the electromagnetic field, never disconnected from the timeless realm of light. Even in the darkest room, even with our eyes closed, we remain part of this vast web of instantaneous connections that pervades the universe. Scientists studying quantum field theory have discovered that even empty space is filled with virtual photons, particles that pop into existence and disappear too quickly to be directly observed, but whose effects can be measured. These virtual photons mediate the electromagnetic force, creating the attractions and repulsions between charged particles that hold atoms together, that create chemistry, that make matter behave as it does. Even these fleeting virtual photons, existing for impossibly brief moments from our perspective, experience their entire existence as a single timeless instant. The vacuum itself is alive with timeless processes, with connections that exist outside duration, even as they create the conditions for duration to be experienced. We return now to our central question, approaching it from a slightly different angle. What if photons experience the entire universe in zero time? We've seen that this isn't really a what-if. It's what the physics tells us must be true. But what does this mean for our understanding of reality? How does it change how we think about the universe and our place in it? Perhaps most importantly, what does it tell us about the nature of existence itself? One profound implication is that the universe is far more unified than our everyday experience suggests. From our perspective, we see separate objects scattered through vast empty spaces, isolated by distances that take years or centuries or millennia to cross even at light speed. But from light's perspective, everything it connects exists at the same point. Every star visible in the night sky is, in a sense, right here, connected to us through photons that experience no separation. The universe isn't just connected by light. From light's perspective, it exists as a single unified whole where distance has no meaning. This unity extends through time as well. The past and present, and in principle the future, coexist in the timeless realm of light. When we see a supernova explosion in a distant galaxy, we typically say we're watching an event that happened millions of years ago. But the photons carrying that information to us don't experience those millions of years. From their perspective, the explosion and our observation of it are the same event. The supernova isn't really in the past. It exists in the eternal present of the light that connects it to us. Every astronomical observation is a window into this eternal present, this timeless realm where all events coexist. Perhaps this is why light has played such a central role in humanity's attempt to understand the universe. From the ancient Greeks who tried to understand vision and illumination, to Islamic scholars who developed optics, to Newton and Huygens debating whether light was particles or waves, to Einstein revealing the constancy of light speed and the quantum pioneers discovering the photon, light has always been at the center of our deepest insights into nature. Maybe this is because light exists at the boundary between the world we experience and something more fundamental, offering us glimpses of a reality beyond time, beyond separation, beyond the limitations of our particular perspective. The technological implications of understanding light's timeless nature have been transformative. Lasers, which produce coherent beams of photons all in the same quantum state, have revolutionized everything from surgery to communication to manufacturing. Fiber optic cables carry information around the world through pulses of light that, from their own perspective, travel instantaneously from source to destination. Quantum computers being developed now manipulate individual photons using their quantum properties to perform calculations impossible for classical computers. Each of these technologies depends on our understanding that light exists in a realm beyond ordinary time and space. But beyond the practical applications, the timeless nature of light offers us something perhaps even more valuable, a different way of understanding our existence. We spend our lives embedded in time, watching ourselves and everything around us age and change. We experience loss and impermanence, seeing everything we love subject to time's passage. Yet we are continuously touched by something that exists outside time, something that connects us instantaneously, from its perspective, to the entire cosmos. We are not isolated specks in a vast, uncaring universe. We are nodes in a vast web of timeless connections, participants in something that transcends the ordinary flow of moments. This doesn't diminish the reality or importance of our temporal experience. The flow of time we experience is real and meaningful. Our memories, our anticipations, our experience of duration, these are fundamental to what makes us human. But they're not the only way of existing. The universe accommodates both our time-bound perspective and light's timeless one. It allows for both change and permanence, both becoming and being, both journey and arrival. We exist in a cosmos rich enough to contain all these seemingly contradictory truths simultaneously. As we move deeper into our contemplation, feeling perhaps the gentle pull of approaching sleep, let's consider one more aspect of this mystery. If photons experience their entire existence in a single instant, what does this mean for information? Every photon carries information about its source, its energy, its polarization. This information travels across the universe, allowing us to study distant stars, to communicate with spacecraft, to see the world around us. From our perspective, information takes time to travel, limited by the speed of light. But from the photon's perspective, information doesn't travel at all. It simply exists as a connection between source and receiver. This has led some physicists to wonder whether information might be more fundamental than space or time themselves. Perhaps the universe is, at its deepest level, made of information, and space and time are emergent properties that arise from how information is organized and processed. From this view, photons aren't really carrying information through space. They're revealing the informational structure of reality itself, showing us that all points in space-time are informationally connected in ways that transcend our ordinary notions of separation and duration. The quantum properties of light add even more mystery to this picture. A single photon can be in a superposition state, existing as a wave spread out through space until it's measured and collapses to a specific location. From our temporal perspective, this collapse happens at a particular moment when measurement occurs. But from the photon's timeless perspective, how does superposition and collapse work? Does the photon exist in all possible states simultaneously in its eternal present? These questions push us to the very limits of our understanding, to the places where quantum mechanics and relativity meet, and our ordinary concepts of reality break down. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that observation or measurement is what causes the wave function to collapse, selecting one outcome from many possibilities. But if photons experience no time, when does this collapse occur from their perspective? Perhaps from the timeless view, all possibilities coexist eternally, and what we call collapse is just our temporal perspective encountering one slice of a more complex, timeless reality. The measurement doesn't cause the collapse. Our time-bound perception creates the appearance of collapse from what is actually a timeless superposition of all possibilities. We're now in very deep waters, exploring ideas that challenge our most basic assumptions about reality. Yet these aren't wild speculations. They emerge from taking our best scientific theories seriously and following their implications wherever they lead. The universe, it seems, is far stranger and more wonderful than our everyday experience suggests. It accommodates perspectives that seem impossible from our viewpoint, allows for modes of existence that transcend our ordinary categories of thought, and connects everything in ways that we're only beginning to understand. Think about the cosmic microwave background radiation again, that faint glow that fills all of space. These photons have been traveling since the universe was only 380,000 years old, carrying information about the conditions of the early cosmos. They've been redshifted by the expansion of space from visible light down to microwave frequencies. From our perspective, they're the oldest light we can see, a fossil from the universe's infancy. But from their perspective, they haven't aged at all. They exist now, in this moment, exactly as they did when they were first released. The early universe isn't gone, lost in the deep past. It exists now in the eternal present of these photons, accessible to us through our telescopes and detectors. Every scientific discovery made by studying this ancient light, the universe's age, its composition, its geometry, the seeds of galaxy formation, comes from information that exists in the timeless realm. We're not really studying the past when we analyze the cosmic microwave background. We're studying something that exists outside of time, that connects us directly to the moment when the universe first became transparent to light. The entire history of cosmology, all our understanding of the universe's evolution, depends on this ability to access the timeless through the temporal, to read the eternal present of light from within our flow of time. As we continue contemplating these ideas, perhaps feeling our thoughts beginning to slow and soften, consider that every atom in your body is old beyond imagination. The hydrogen in the water you drink was formed in the first few minutes after the Big Bang. The heavier elements were forged in stars that lived and died before our sun was born. These atoms have been part of cosmic clouds, other stars, possibly other planets, before becoming part of Earth and eventually part of you. And throughout this immense history, they've been continuously exchanging photons, participating in electromagnetic interactions, connected through light to the rest of the universe. You're not separate from cosmic history. You're made of it, literally constructed from materials that have been traveling through space and time for billions of years. And right now, as you rest and breathe, your atoms continue their ancient dance with light. Electrons in your atoms are jumping between energy levels, emitting and absorbing photons. Chemical reactions in your cells are mediated by electromagnetic forces carried by virtual photons. You're glowing in infrared, emitting photons that from their perspective instantaneously reach whatever they strike, whether that's the walls of your room or if they escape through a window, potentially traveling forever into the cosmic void. This continuous exchange between matter and light, between the temporal and the timeless, is what makes our existence possible. Without photons and their timeless nature, atoms couldn't form stable structures. Chemistry wouldn't work. Stars couldn't shine. Life couldn't exist. We are temporal beings made possible by timeless processes, conscious entities aware of duration through mechanisms that transcend duration. Our very ability to think about time depends on processes that exist outside of time. The philosophical implications are profound. If photons experience no time, do they exist in a kind of eternal now? And if so, what does this tell us about the nature of now itself? We experience now as a fleeting moment, constantly slipping away into the past as the future becomes present. But perhaps now is actually far richer than we realize. Perhaps it contains, in some sense, all of time, with past and future coexisting in an eternal present that we only perceive sequentially because of our particular limitations. The photons surrounding us might be showing us what now really is, not a point moving through time, but time itself, complete and whole. Different spiritual and philosophical traditions have spoken of an eternal now, a present moment that contains all of time. Mystics have described experiences of stepping outside ordinary time and perceiving past, present, and future as a single whole. These descriptions have often been dismissed as subjective experiences with no bearing on physical reality. But what if they were glimpses of something real? What if consciousness, under certain conditions, can access something like the timeless perspective that photons inhabit naturally? Not literally moving at light speed, of course, but perhaps touching something fundamental about the nature of time and existence that light reveals through its physics. We must be careful not to make too much of these connections, not to claim more than the physics actually tells us. But it's remarkable that modern physics has revealed a timeless realm built into the very structure of space-time, a perspective from which the entire history of the universe exists as a single moment. This isn't mysticism, it's mathematics. The same mathematics that engineers use to design lasers and GPS satellites. The timeless exists not in some transcendent realm separate from physical reality, but woven into the fabric of space-time itself, manifest in every photon, present in every beam of light. As we approach the end of our journey together, though of course from light's perspective we're also at the beginning and middle simultaneously, let's return once more to the simple yet profound fact that started our exploration. Photons, the particles of light that fill the universe and make vision possible, experience their entire journey from creation to absorption in zero time. This isn't speculation or philosophy. It's a direct consequence of special relativity, confirmed by countless experiments. At the speed of light, time stops. Distance contracts to zero. The universe transforms from a vast expanse of separate locations into a single point where everything happens at once. What does this mean for us, temporal beings living our sequential lives in the flow of time? Perhaps it means that we're part of something far grander than our everyday experience suggests. We're not isolated individuals on a tiny planet in a vast empty universe. We're nodes in a vast network of timeless connections, participants in a cosmic unity that transcends space and time. Every photon that touches us connects us instantaneously, from its perspective to its source, whether that's a light bulb, the sun, or a galaxy billions of light years away. We are continuously in contact with the entire cosmos through the medium of light. It also means that our scientific understanding of the universe, impressive as it is, may still be limited by our particular perspective. We've learned to account for relativity, to work with quantum mechanics, to probe the universe across the electromagnetic spectrum. But we still think primarily from our time-bound viewpoint, seeing the universe as space evolving through time. What would physics look like if we could truly adopt light's perspective? What new insights might emerge if we could think from the timeless viewpoint? Perhaps the next great breakthroughs in physics will come from learning to see reality from outside time, to understand the universe as light experiences it. But for tonight, for this gentle exploration we've shared, perhaps it's enough simply to marvel at what we've discovered. The universe is stranger and more beautiful than we imagined. Light, which seems so ordinary, so everyday, actually exists in a realm beyond time, connecting all things in an eternal present. We are surrounded by the timeless, immersed in eternity, even as we experience the steady flow of moments. This isn't a contradiction. It's the profound richness of reality, the ability of the universe to accommodate radically different modes of existence simultaneously. As you drift towards sleep, if sleep is approaching, consider the soft light that might be filtering through your eyelids. Those photons have journeyed to you, from your perspective, but from their own viewpoint, they exist simultaneously at their source and at your eyes. You are connected through them to their origin in a timeless instant. The warmth you might feel from a blanket comes from infrared photons radiating from the fabric, each one existing in its eternal present, even as you experience them sequentially through time. You're held in a web of timeless connections, cradled by forces that transcend duration, gently supported by the eternal structure of space-time itself. The mystery we've explored tonight, the timeless journey of light, isn't separate from you. You participate in it with every glance, every moment of sight, every photon that your body emits or absorbs. You are both observer and participant, both temporal and touched by the timeless. The atoms in your body have existed for billions of years and will exist for billions more, but the photons they exchange exist outside time entirely, in an eternal now that encompasses all moments simultaneously. You are ancient and immediate, lasting and instantaneous, a bridge between time and timelessness. Perhaps this is why contemplating light and its mysteries can feel both exciting and soothing. We're touching something fundamental about existence, something that transcends our ordinary worries and concerns. The problems that loom large in our temporal lives shrink when seen from the perspective of light, where past and future collapse into an eternal present. Not that our temporal concerns don't matter, they do, profoundly. But they exist within a larger context, a cosmic framework where time itself is just one way of experiencing a reality that also accommodates the timeless. The universe doesn't hurry. From light's perspective, everything that needs to happen happens in the same eternal moment. There's no rush, no deadline, no race against time, because time itself is an emergent property, a way of experiencing something that is fundamentally beyond duration. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about time in our daily lives, but perhaps we can carry with us the peaceful knowledge that beneath the flow of moments, beyond the ticking of clocks, there exists a timeless realm where everything is always, already, eternally complete. Think one more time about starlight. When you next see stars, remember that from the perspective of their light, those stars aren't distant. They're right here, connected to your eyes through photons that experience no separation, no journey, no time. The universe isn't vast and empty. From light's view, it's intimate and immediate, every point touching every other point through the web of electromagnetic connection. You're not looking across space at distant suns, you're participating in a timeless connection that makes distance irrelevant and time meaningless. And perhaps this is the deepest gift of understanding light's timeless nature. It reminds us that reality is far richer, far stranger, far more wonderful than our limited perspective suggests. We live in a universe where time can stop, where space can contract to nothing, where entire journeys can happen in zero duration. We exist in a cosmos that accommodates both the temporal and the eternal, both separation and unity, both the journey and the instant arrival. We are part of something magnificent, something that transcends our everyday understanding while including it, something that whispers of possibilities beyond our current imagination. The photons continue their timeless journeys all around you, through you, from you. Each one a bridge between moments, a connection between here and there that needs no time to cross. The universe continues its patient unfolding from your temporal perspective, while existing complete and whole from light's eternal viewpoint. And you, wonderful, conscious, curious you, exist at the intersection of these perspectives, able to contemplate both time and timelessness, both the journey and the destination, both the question and the eternal presence that might be its answer. As we come to the end of our contemplation, remember that from light's perspective we're also at the beginning and the middle, all simultaneously. The photons that carried these words to your eyes or ears exist in their timeless realm even as you experience them sequentially. Our entire journey tonight, all these thoughts and wonderings about the nature of light and time, happened in an instant from the perspective of the electromagnetic radiation that made it possible. We've been exploring timelessness through time, touching eternity through duration, glimpsing the infinite through the finite. What if photons experience the entire universe in zero time? They do. The physics tells us they must. And in knowing this, we know something profound about the universe and our place in it. We are temporal beings in a cosmos that also accommodates the timeless. We experience duration in a reality that also contains the eternal present. We journey through space that from another perspective doesn't exist. We are paradoxes, contradictions that somehow work, impossible beings made possible by the rich, strange, wonderful nature of space-time itself. And so, as you rest in this moment, remember that you are touching something beyond moments. As you breathe in time, you're surrounded by the timeless. As you experience the flow of consciousness through duration, that experience is made possible by processes that transcend duration entirely. You are more than you appear to be from any single perspective. You're a temporal expression of something that includes but transcends time, a finite manifestation of patterns that touch the infinite. A question the universe asks that contains within itself the seeds of its own eternal answer. The light continues its timeless dance, and you continue your journey through time, and somehow, mysteriously, beautifully, These two modes of being interweave to create the experience you call your life. In the gentle darkness behind your closed eyelids, in the soft embrace of approaching sleep, you remain connected to the entire cosmos through bonds that need no time to traverse any distance. You are home in the universe, not because you've travelled here, but because from light's perspective, everywhere is here, everywhere is now, and you have already eternally arrived. And as you drift into sleep, you remain part of this quiet universe, wrapped in its laws, carried by its mysteries, held in the eternal present that exists beneath and beyond and within the flow of time. The photons continue their instantaneous journeys, the stars continue their ancient burning, space continues its expansion, and you continue your existence at the miraculous intersection of time and timelessness, gently, peacefully, into the night where all perspectives converge in the democracy of dreams, where time releases its hold and consciousness touches something that might be very much like the eternal, timeless moment that light has been showing us all along. End